QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. Welcome to the 9th episode of QuaranJazz, your weekly update on the jazz scene from all over the world. What are jazz musicians doing during this social isolation time? If you've been listening to this series of interviews, you know already that's a lot of great stuff going on. And if it's your first episode, I strongly recommend that you check out my previous guests. QuaranJazz is available for listening in all main streaming platforms, including Spotify, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, I Love Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Edit, and also a playlist in YouTube. QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. I'm Geisa Fernandes, singer and songwriter from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I'm the one leading you in this incredible journey through the world of jazz during the COVID crisis. If you'd like to learn more about my projects, including other podcasts, visit geisafernandes.com. The link will be in the description of the episode. If you're a jazz musician and would like to take part in this project, drop me a line. QuaranJazz is also a proudly participant of the Social Distancing Festival. The link will also be in the description of the episode. Check it out. May I remind you that you can also find me on Facebook. I manage a group called The Touring Jazz Musician. The group is named after a guide I wrote on jazz festivals that accept submissions directly from artists. If you'd like to know more about the jazz festival scenario, join the discussion on Facebook, The Touring Jazz Musician. Without further ado, let me introduce you to this week's guest, directly from London, the multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, band leader, and a lot of other amazing things, Faye Patton. Hi Faye, thank you very much for your participation. Welcome to QuaranJazz. I think we can start this conversation by talking about your influences, how would you define your music? And I know that this can be quite a hard question, but anyway, tell us please about you.
Hi, I'm Faye Patton, yes. So, by way of introduction, I'm a singer, songwriter, pianist, guitarist, band leader, lyricist, and I write my own songs in what I would loosely call a jazz idiom, a new jazz idiom. I'm a new jazz diva, that's how they describe me. And my style is classic, but it's contemporary, and it has a retro kind of a twist. Anyone who listens to my stuff can tell that I've been influenced by people like Ray Charles, Horace Silver, Nina Simone, Carole King, and my songs are quite lyrically, they're quite dense. I'm a writer and a poet, and I like to take people on a journey of rhythm and rhyme. And my favourite lyricists are Prince, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Wonder, Steely Dan, Rachel Farrell. Vocally, any of the big divas from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you get the picture. I've been listening recently to, what have I got on my CD player? Dee Dee Bridgewater, Etta James, Pointer Sisters, Donny Hathaway. I tend to go to the past for my inspiration. That's where the good stuff is. And I like all music, from Metallica, Queen, jazz, gospel, K-pop. And I also love classical guitar music, so much so that I took it upon myself to take all the guitar grades in my 20s, a journey that pretty much finished me. I don't recommend it necessarily, but classical technique and theory comes in handy. I would say I'm a musician's musician, so I write music about music sometimes, like Stevie Wonder did in the past, like Horace Silver and Shaka Khan have done. Witty jazz tunes about jazz that people get. I hark back to the times when people knew how to write melodies, bridges, knew how to really write imaginative stuff. And my songs contain tales of love, longing, passion, inspiration. with female desire at the centre. And as far as I know, I'm the only openly, lyrically, explicitly LGBT jazz artist on the jazz scene in London, singing in the way that I do. As I say that, I realise that can't be the case. Can it? Can it be the case that I'm the only one doing what I do, especially with female pronouns and stuff in love songs? I'm a band leader, and I have a roster of rotating band members, friends, musical family, not just players, they're my buddies. And we gig solo, duo, trio, quartet, depends on the occasion, and I frequently do gigs that have one half I'll lead from the guitar, and second half I'll get onto the grand piano. I've recorded 4 CDs so far, all originals, but I do have a wide range of standards that I do. Some people, genre-wise, some people think that I'm not really enough for jazz, because my work is poppy, melodic, listenable, but the fact is that I'm way too jazzy for pop, so I've ended up where I am. I'm between worlds, I'm between categories, and the beauty of not fitting in anywhere is that you can go everywhere, and that's what I do.
Hey, I like that. I like that a lot. Very well put. So tell me, what were your plans before this crisis exploded? What were you doing by the time the COVID crisis arrived?
So when this COVID-19 crisis hit, the timing was such that I managed to complete a jazz trio project with a performance at East 15 Jazz Sessions at Stratford Circus, London, UK, with Latin percussionist and drummer Michel Dries and electric soul guitarist, singer-songwriter Ese Okorodudu. And we did a great set, mostly original songs by myself and Ese, with some Antonio Carlos Jobim and Gil Scott-Heron thrown in. And we had a great audience, not quite sold out, but it was a big, brave, not yet locked down audience. And the very next day, which was March the 14th, things started shutting down and cancelling. So we were really lucky to get that in, and that was the culmination of a really fantastic working process that had been really enjoyable, and hopefully made colleagues and friends for life. Loved it. It was great. And I was also preparing for a duo gig at my usual haunt, the Green Note Jazz Club in Camden, which is a jazz roots Americana club that we were going to do at the end of May. And luckily, this is rebooked for September. And I also had my regular solo gigs, my solo piano bar gigs at Toulouse-Lautrec Jazz Club and Bermondsey Arts Club. So, like lots of musicians, I've lost sudden chunks of livelihood overnight, pretty much. Thankfully, lucky timing, I've had seasonal teaching jobs recently, and I've got money coming in for past work. So, thank goodness for that. But that's what I was involved in at this time.
Oh, that's lucky timing indeed. And how are you coping with quarantine? What are you doing with this sudden extra time at home?
So this whole quarantine thing is both badly and well timed for me, because I was desperate for a holiday or a break or a change of routine, and now I've got it. I would have been on a train to see my family in the southwest of England right now, but unfortunately can't do that. So I'm spending a lot of time in the woodshed, which is where I like to be, actually. Guitar, songwriting, scales, arpeggios, piano bar repertoire, planning a new recording of my jazz guitar originals, which I've been gigging in the last 4 years or so. And it's time to get some of that down on wax, so I'm preparing for recording those. And that's a particular kind of rehearsal. You rehearse in a very, very precise way with a metronome, and it's very fine-tuned. I'm quite enjoying going through just all my repertoire. Some things I'd forgotten, and I'm getting them, back off the back burner, as it were. I'm spending a lot of time exercising, and I have a weekly routine of running, weights, Pilates. I have a very high metabolism, so the more exercise, the more I need. So it's a really fine balance. I'm trying not to go mad, but I'm just trying to keep moving. Some days are productive, good days. Some days are not. But yeah, I was at a point where I needed a life review anyway, and universe forced my hand, and I'm surrendering to it. Luckily, I'm in a part of South London where this whole lockdown concept is loosely observed rather than rigorously enforced, so I'm relatively free. I can run in the park as much as I'm able, and once a day is absolutely fine. It's a time for personal reflection, re-evaluation, things like house cleaning, talking to family, going back over old documents, family history, half-finished albums, cleaning out my head and my heart. And on bad days, I descend into crisis management because, frankly, I think we're all doing that. There's not one of us who is not worried about money right now, and there's not one of us who's not worried about elderly family members. I'm trying not to think too far into the future, but at the same time, I'm staying in touch with industry people, and I'm checking for if and when schedules, venues, festivals might start to trickle back into action. And like most music teachers, I've moved my clients onto Zoom. How did we live before Zoom? It's been amazing. Yeah, loving it actually. It's great. And knowing that I have a rebooking in September, it keeps me optimistic, and I'm rehearsing my set for that. I avoid mainstream news, but I'm very open to alternative narratives about what's going on, and I check in with friends, and I share silly jokes, and in fact, I've been laughing more than I have in years, because, you know, you gotta laugh.
Okay, so laughing, keeping up the contact with industry people, and surrendering to the wishes of the universe. I think that's all great advice. And thank you for saying that you also have good and bad days. It's good to know that I'm not the only one, that we are all in the same boat. And what can you say about the track we are going to hear?
So the track you're going to hear is All Around Town. This is off my album Dangerous Loving, which I recorded with the incredibly talented producer and engineer Felix McIntosh at Tigersonic Studios in London. I'm proud of this project. It was an epic undertaking, and also an emotional exorcism of sorts. Lots of love songs, both bitter and sweet. So on this track, I'm playing all the keys and all the guitars, and there's a guest appearance by Vicky Flint on trumpet. Hi, Vicky. All Around Town is a joyful song. It's about attraction, inspiration. It's got a vintage old-time jazz feel, and for jazz guitar buffs, if you listen closely, you'll hear a slight Heitor Villa-Lobos influence in the chord progression, and just a touch of Donald Fagen, not lyrically, but in the stops, breakdowns and vocal harmonies. That's Ian Newton-Grant on drums and Curtis Cumberbatch on bass. Hi Ian, hi Curtis. I was actually going to, for this podcast, I was going to play the darkest, deepest, most murky track. But then I changed my mind, and I thought I'm going to give you something light. A sweet fantasy, a sweet up-tempo thing. Like me, I'm sweet and up-tempo. Because I want to give you a hopeful spring-like vibe. I want to give you a spring in your step. So if you get a nice feeling from the mood and the texture of this track, then I'm happy. That means my job is done. It's funny because as a songwriter, sometimes we forget to listen to the lyrics of our songs. We forget that we wrote it. We're too close to it in a way. So you listen to something a few years later and you think, it's only right now that I realise how appropriate this track is given these lockdown circumstances. Because don't we just want to all bust out right now? I heard a rumour that you might just get what you desire. And if what you desire should inspire to lift us just a little bit higher, let's fan the flame of our most fortunate fame. It's all around town. Can no one keep a secret anymore? Can't keep my feelings down, so I'm going to take a ticket right to your door. Anyway, enjoy. It's not even that deep. It's At the end of the day, it's art. It's an excuse to rhyme any more with door, fire, desire, etc. And enjoy the Cavai grand piano stylings recorded at Jack Samuel's showrooms. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Great fun. Thanks. Nice to connect. Nice to chat about my work. Don't always get the chance to zoom back and reflect on it like this. Dangerous Loving is available in CD and digital format on Bandcamp, iTunes, Jazz CDs, CD Baby, and all of that info you can find at fayepatton.com. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Faye. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your stories with us. Thank you for your advices. And thank you for the reference. Heitor Villa-Lobos is one of the masters of Brazilian music. I really appreciated that reference. And yeah, we can all use a little piece of sweet fantasy now, I guess. So thanks for changing your mind as well. All the best and good lucks with the gigs in September. This is QuaranJazz. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Geisa Fernandes, singer-songwriter from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And if you want to know more about my work, visit geisafernandes.com. You can also find me and contact me on Facebook. Join the group, The Touring Jazz Musician. As usual, it was a pleasure having your company in this weekly show. And now, ladies and gents, all around town.
Whispers on the green, mutton and plantain. But are you thinking about me too? It's all around town. Can no one keep a secret anymore? It's all around town. I can't keep my feelings down. So I'm gonna take it to your Now it's just a romance, but you don't get smart without a fight. Had a romance, and I had a romance. You might just get what you desire. Gonna get it, and if what you desire is shooting school to lift up just a little bit higher, let's
QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. QuaranJazz, a podcast by Geisa Fernandes.